Hello there and welcome back to Elden Ring Nightreign. Today I'm doing a pre-recorded one. I actually didn't think I was going to be recording this, which is why I'm dubbing my voiceover afterwards. I got a cool new art for Wilder, which sets his sword on fire when he does his grappling hook, so I figured I'd play as him. And we're going to do the Sentient Pest today. We actually get pretty lucky with the teammates that we get today. They're both fantastic, so immediate shout out to the two Iron Eyes that assisted me through this hunt. Um, but yeah, this was a super fun one. I'll probably go back to live streaming again pretty soon. Um, Maybe I'll either do a live stream or I'll do more videos like this, where it's like recorded and then I just speak over it afterwards. Um, in terms of stuff you missed, I did a few of the remembrances, which are like the little story segments, mainly for the raider who has like gladiatorial arena fights, which is pretty cool. It's basically just one-on-one boss battles. Maybe I can show you somehow in a different video. I'm not too sure how just yet, without starting a brand new game. I also unlocked the change costume feature, but I haven't had enough currency to get any so far. Um, so yeah, I've had about 16 hours with the game now, and this game is fantastic. Like I've been hearing a lot of like negative stuff online. I don't know whether it's just because it's different, I guess, like the multiplayer kind of focus of it. Maybe it's the speed of it. I don't know, because I can also find the speed of it to be a bit jarring sometimes. But all in all, I'd actually say this game is like fantastic. I really love the characters. I love the story. I really can't wait for them to add more Nightfarers and more bosses. I would also say I've seen a bunch of other bosses that I didn't know were in the game. I won't say anything about any of them, just in case they come up when I'm streaming or when I record another video. You'll see one or two of them in this video actually, which is quite nice. Um, Things that I've noticed about the game. Iron Eye. Iron Eye is incredibly powerful. He is like one of the best characters in the game by far. Having two Iron Eyes in this particular hunt was invaluable. It was like, it's so helpful. These guys are like super on it and they know exactly where to go. You see me just attacking some crabs here, which is a questionable decision. Um, I promise I pull my weight a little bit later on. Nice little fact, there's always a scarab underneath this bit of rubble that's ahead, the thing that he's climbing up right now. You'll see me deviate in a second, maybe? Yeah. I'm pretty sure I go underneath and get. I think it's actually quite a useful one as well that I get off of this. So yeah, always worth hunting down. Yeah, gold scarab, extra runes, always good. Um, I would say like something to take away after like lots of experience with this game for people who are maybe struggling at the beginning and finding it difficult to get into it. You will always earn rewards even if you fail. I will also say that even if you die and you lose a level, don't get too disheartened. You can get those levels back quite quickly. You just need to sort of know how. There are sort of like different types of camps around the map, and there are very specific ones that are generally geared towards easier content kind of thing. Once you get to know the difference between all of these, you'll be able to sort of pick a farming route out to level yourself up. But generally speaking, I usually start either cathedrals or like the fort that we're doing right now is another really good one. There's also like small camps of like Leyendell and Redmane soldiers and stuff like that. You can go to those. Super useful for building up early XP, basically. And then sort of the last thing you really want to do is go to the castle in the middle. The castle in the middle is always quite chonky experience. It's always filled with things that will annihilate you if you're not paying attention. We do go to that central fort a little bit later on in this video, and you'll kind of see what I mean. Even at a high level, we sort of struggle. But yeah, generally speaking, there is sort of like a good route always, or there'll be specifically landmarks that you want to beeline towards. Some players prefer to go for all of the little Estus Flask churches quickly. This team is quite competent. They sort of do a combination of clearing forts and going after Estus Flasks, which is the best way to do it. I got a handy like bleed greatsword from this place, the forked greatsword that I've got there. It's I end up using it for basically the whole run. I think I might switch once at one point, but I think I quickly switch back just because the bleed so damn good, and Wilder's greatsword passives are like just too good to overlook. Yeah, I know. Another thing to keep in mind, if you don't find any good weapons, you can actually go down into the little tunnels, the mines. It seems a little bit daunting at first because you can get trapped in there if the storm comes in and you don't know where you're going. But the mines actually aren't that big. I know it looks like they're huge, but they're not actually that bad, and there's only a couple of layouts that there are down there. And once you know them, you'll be able to track down the boss, kill the boss really quickly, and then you get a smithing stone level 2, which can take a blue weapon to purple. And then you buy the first level of smithing stone from any of the ghostly merchants that are around. And they're super easy to find. They're usually in preset locations outside of certain enemy camps and stuff like that. In terms of the online experience so far, I've actually, for the most part, had a really smooth ride of it. Most of my teammates have been fantastic, and the teammates that have not been so fantastic have not been because they're not. I've never been frustrated with a teammate's skill level. It's more that some players get frustrated as soon as you die, and then they just insta-quit because they don't think the run is winnable because they've lost a level. This really reinforces what I said at the beginning. Like, don't be disheartened if you die. Like, you can get the levels back. I've won several runs after dying 3-4 times, and losing all of those levels, and I've still managed to beat the boss at the end because my teammates were either really good or I've just been really efficient farming. I think that's the only thing that I've ran into so far that's been a little frustrating with the online experience. It's just disconnecting teammates if they get frustrated. If you don't do what people want to do, they sometimes get frustrated as well and they quit. But otherwise, yeah, I've not really found it too frustrating to be playing with lower skilled players at all. Whenever I come across a lower skilled player, I always take the run with a pinch of salt, and I'm just like, well, I'm going to get some currency at the end of it regardless, so I'll just do my best to help them out, kind of thing. And it does happen, some people who don't know the game just yet will run straight to that middle fort that I told you about earlier and just get annihilated on a loop because they think that's the thing that they should be doing, and it's obviously really not. But the best you can really do, because there's no voice chat, is ping. You can just ping bits of the map to try and get them to move. Sometimes they notice it, sometimes they don't, especially if they're newer to the game. As for the solo experience, I've got to be honest, I'm still finding it so hard. Solo is really challenging, and I mean, people can say skill issue, and that's totally fair. I'm not the most proficient Elden Ring player, but the solo experience can feel quite overwhelmingly on top of you. It's a lot harder to recover from a death in a solo run than it is in a co-op run, because you've just got no one backing you up, obviously. Apparently there are changes on the way that are going to make it a little bit easier, like giving you a revive on the night boss and stuff like that, which is going to be so welcome. I can't wait for that to be implemented. I also can't wait for duos to be a thing because I would absolutely love to show my girlfriend this and like try and teach her how to play it slowly because it's a bit of a learning curve. But yeah, I do think that even if you're new to the game, you can learn this. This is very learnable. I would actually say even more so than regular Elden Ring. I think like regular Elden Ring, I think once you hit a wall, you're gonna go one of two ways. You're either going to like be like, okay, this is impossible, and then just give up and throw the game away, kind of thing, or you keep slamming your head against the brick wall until you get over it. Whereas this game feels a lot more tailored. It's like if you fail a run, it's usually for very specific reasons. Like it'll be like you just weren't leveled up enough, or you just weren't coordinated enough. Like it's very straightforward, and it's not always a skill issue. It can be a numerical thing. So like actually just knowing where to go, I think makes this game very approachable once you know that. Like as I say, like all Souls games, getting into it at the beginning can be a bit of a steep ask, but I think once you know the general layout of this game particularly, I would say this is actually a lot easier than base Elden Ring. Because once you know all the good spots and stuff like that, you can actually start getting a bit of a flow going. And it is super satisfying to run between the camps, taking out each of the bosses. I like genuinely really enjoy it. Even solo, I find just that rush is just fantastic. Like even if you lose the run into the night boss or whatever, like just managing to go through even the lower level camps and clearing out the easier bosses, it's still super satisfying. It's such a rush, especially once you get a little bit more proficient at it and a little bit more fluid going from one place to another. I will say like playing solo has actually really helped my map knowledge like quite a lot. Like to begin with, I was wasting so much time just like looking around, like figuring out like where I was actually meant to be going. And as a result, you just end up getting burned by the ring, or you run out of time and you can't loot up properly. It's just well, it's exactly how it's supposed to be actually. Like the part of the fun is obviously overcoming that first hurdle. Like, you know, you can see the improvement immediately. I mean, watching this gameplay now versus the gameplay that I was showing on stream, I've improved like a shed load, and I've been playing for like a day basically. And yeah, I think it really does like show just like what a little bit of time with the game can actually do for your skill level. Like, I would say I did not improve this quickly in regular Elden Ring to how fast I've improved in this game. I feel a lot more comfortable taking on solo expeditions now. I've managed to get to the Night Lord fairly consistently now, like the final Night Lord, like in a solo run. I occasionally screw up and mess up on either the first or second day, but like for the most part, I get all the way to the Night Lord. And before that was an impossibility. As a matter of fact, I would be dying in the field before I even got to a boss. So yeah, just a little bit of time is all it really takes. We're now slowly approaching where the Night 1 boss is going to spawn. I'm getting beaten up by some regular dudes at the moment. But yeah, in a minute we're going to be up where the first day boss will spawn. And generally speaking, somewhere between level 5, 6, 7, they're all okay places to be when you go up against this first boss. You can do it at a much lower level, like genuinely you can, but if you want to do it comfortably without having to worry about, you know, skill issuing the boss a little bit, then, you know, 5, 6, 7, you can quite comfortably do the boss at that point. We're kind of ahead of the curve, I think. As I'm recording this audio, the screen the capture here is actually very small, so I can't actually see what level I am. Looks like is that 8? I think I'm level 8. Um, and yeah, so we're kind of above where we should be at the moment, and with 3 of us, this boss honestly just doesn't really stand a chance. I'm going to shut up until this boss battle's over. So yeah, I'll come back with some more insight once we're done. And there you go. That's Smelter Demon taken care of. Nice Dark Souls 2 boss there. I actually really like what they've done with him for this game. So we're now waiting for day 2 to begin. You can use the time here because this is one time where you literally just can't move until the fire clears. You want to be sort of thinking about what you want to do next here, plot a course. I decided whilst we were fighting that I wanted to do the camp just up this cliff here, and my teammates were in sync with me, and they actually pinged that same camp. Um, Generally speaking, if you don't want to lead, you can just follow other people's pings, and you'll be fine. As long as you stick together, it's kind of the main thing, and you'll see I'm sort of going off on my own a little bit here in the camp, but I'm quite confident that I can take down these enemies. Yeah. So whilst we're clearing up this camp, I guess I should talk about some of the more negative things with this game. And I think most of it stems to the same thing, and I would say it's the roguelike element of it. I like that enemy placements get mixed up and stuff like that, but I wouldn't even say that it needs to be more mixed up than it is. I just think that there should be a few more variations. Like, I think there should be a few more different types of camps around and stuff like that. Just different sets of enemies in different places. And this extends to all of the little like skill gems you get. I can't remember what they're called now, but the things that you slot onto your character before a run. They're supposed to give you like passive effects whilst you're playing. Some of them are pretty cool, like the thing that makes my sword a flaming sword whenever I do my grappling hook. That's like really awesome. But there are so many of them that are either okay. It locked. I need to tell you about that right there. It locked onto the barrel behind the enemy and just launched me at it with a flaming sword, which exploded me. It's like it's so good. Oh man, I kind of wish I had have waited to start talking until after that had happened. But yeah, the roguelike elements, they kind of need improving a little bit. I think like a lot of the skill gems and a lot of the passives on weapons as well, they're so not substantial or like interesting enough to actually make your runs feel diversified. Like, I feel like I personally will probably keep playing this after I've beaten the final Night Lords just because I really like the gameplay loop, but I can see a lot of people getting bored once you've beaten all 8 of the big bads. And I think a lot of that does come down to just there not really being any build variety. It's just like the character that you pick at the beginning kind of determines the sort of weapon that you're going to be wielding throughout. And it's also going to determine, for the most part, just your general play style. And everything else is just like the most minute of buffs. And there's very few that actually change the gameplay experience up enough for me to actually be like, yeah, this is a good roguelike. Because I really do think it's lacking a bit in that department. I think like even if all they did was tune up some of the passive effects on the different weapons and stuff, that in and of itself might solve the problem, to be honest. It just needs to be more noticeable. And if they have to scale enemy difficulty up a little bit to go along with those buffs, sure. But like, I just think making them a bit more significant would make it a lot more interesting. It would make finding a new weapon feel like, hitting the jackpot. Whereas right now, like, there's sort of like a few weapons that you want to keep your eye open for. I mean, things with bleed work really well in this game. A lot of bosses in this game are susceptible to bleed. Same with frost. But that's kind of the same for regular Elden Ring. So you're sort of looking for kind of the same sort of stats every single time, and there's not really anything like super mind-blowing in terms of back-end passives or anything like that. So yeah, at the moment the game kind of feels like it's carried more by its Nightfarers and their playstyles rather than the actual roguelike additions that the game gives you. And that's not really a very sustainable way to make a game, because I mean, they're only going to add so many extra Nightfarers over time, and so many extra bosses, and eventually it will hit a point where they're just not going to make more stuff for it, and you're just going to be stuck with the same stuff forever. And you need, in that scenario, to have more interesting things going on at the back end to make the game enjoyable in the long term. Speaking of the long term, that brings me to my second complaint, and this one has been all over the internet already. Why is there no duos? Like, duos should have absolutely been considered for this. Like, if I'm playing with a friend and we want to do like some sort of meme build where it's just 2 of us and like, maybe the run will go terribly, but we want to try it out anyways. It feels kind of crappy to have a third person along who maybe isn't on board with that idea, who isn't in your chat party, who doesn't know what you're doing. And we're potentially like frustrating that person because we want to do something weird. Like, or you could maybe be playing in a duo with a less experienced player who is trying to learn the game at a slower pace, but because you've got this third random in the game who's going to be trying to speed you along, it's going to feel quite intimidating for that new player. Like, I feel like, I know people who would much rather just play with me rather than have a random in as well, because that way they don't feel like, they're taking too long to learn or things like that. Whereas with that third random, it feels a little bit more pressured. which like kind of sucks. And when you're trying to like teach someone the ropes, it is going to be a bit of a slow start, and some people just aren't going to be happy with that in their games, like which sucks because you want to introduce new people to the game and you want people to be able to learn the game at their own pace. And solo is at the moment not the way to do that. Like solo is just too hard, like for a brand new Souls player to try and learn this. Like you pretty much have to go in with other people to learn it properly. So yeah, no duos, big misstep. And the second part of that, no crossplay. Like no crossplay. Why? Like for a multiplayer focused game, like in this day and age, you need crossplay. The reason you need crossplay is because people's attention spans are less and less and less in this day and age. People will drop off of this game regardless of whether it's really good. I mean, look at Monster Hunter Wilds. That game is phenomenal and it is easily the best Monster Hunter game that's ever been made. And yet it's lost players. It's like it's hemorrhaged players. It still has a healthy player base, don't get me wrong, but like compared to older games, like the loss of players over the time it's been out has been huge. And this game is not going to be any different, I don't think. Eventually the player base will start to wind down and you will start having longer matchmaking times and things like that. And you won't necessarily be matched with the people you want to be matched with, There'll be less variety, it'll be less interesting. Whereas with crossplay, you're keeping that environment really nice and open. More friends can play together, the player base will sustain itself for a lot longer because there'll be far more conversation between those two player bases or three player bases or however many different platforms are going to get involved in Nightreign. I don't actually even know what this is on. I don't know whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. I assume it must be, right? But yeah, like merging those audiences together would be a huge W for From Software. I think like it'll go a really long way to making this game feel a lot more like a long-term prospect. Yeah, I think like with that, I actually think that's pretty much all of my negatives. Weirdly, like I like pretty much everything else about this. I'm trying to think about like suggestions. I never thought I'd say these words, but I actually genuinely think that From Software missed the mark a little bit when they didn't make this a live service game. Like, I really think that this game should have been live service, so that they can support it for like 2-3 years, keep adding new Nightfarers, new bosses, rather than going down this like DLC route, which is obviously going to be like priced DLC, where like people are either going to buy into it or they're not, and if not enough people buy into it, there won't be any more DLC. Whereas with a live service, you would hinge more on maybe like cosmetic microtransactions and stuff like that, which in a game like this, absolutely fine by me. Like genuinely, if I think like putting a skin on a character in a third-person Souls-like, that's worth a little bit of money to me. I'd happily do that. But yeah, DLC packs, like what they're going to do, it feels like maybe not only... I mean, I don't know how they're going to handle the DLC packs yet, because obviously the DLC is going to add new Nightfarers and new bosses. Now, does this mean that people who don't own the DLC are not going to be able to experience that with you? Are you going to be separated from people who don't have the DLC? Because if that's the case, then that's, again, a huge misfire, because your audience is already going to be dwindling a little bit by the time the DLC comes out. So yeah, they need to think about how they're handling it going forwards. I really, really hope that like they make it so that everyone can play with everyone once the DLC's out. Even if you don't own the DLC, you can still play with your DLC friends. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we don't know how substantial the DLC is actually going to be. Like, they say there'll be new Nightfarers and new bosses, but like, are they going to make additions to the map? Are they going to add a whole new Night Lords to hunt? I don't know how big it's going to be. And if it's big, then they need to make sure that those player bases can actually play together still, because yeah, your audience is going to get divided again, which is bad for a multiplayer game. So yeah, that's sort of my like early impressions slash sort of I guess almost mini review kind of thing of this game so far. Um, the one thing I haven't actually touched on uh, so far is the story. The story is quite typical Soulsy story with sort of uh, I would say it's less missable actually than a typical Souls like. Like you're gonna get the whole story if you buy this game. Like it's just whether you engage with it or not. You don't necessarily have to. Some of it's told through journal entries, and most of it is told through character conversation, which is typically vague and um, difficult to initially get your head around, just because that is the Souls style of storytelling. But I actually really like the way that they've gone about it. I think all the Nightfarers have really distinct personalities. I like the fact that if you want to learn more about a particular Nightfarer, you play a few games as them, and then the next bit of their story will unlock. And then you play a few more games, and then the next bit of the story will unlock. Um, and sometimes you have to do a little mission in a game. These missions that you have to do in game are like solo only, as far as I can tell. I've tried matchmaking to get on with one of them. I wanted to matchmake to do the Guardians one because I just am not very good with the Guardian, and it told me to eliminate a golem, and I was really struggling for whatever reason. I don't know why. So I tried matchmaking it, and it would not find me any co-op partners. I don't know whether that's because I was doing that bit of story or what. But yeah, consistently had to do that on my own. And I think it's the same for all of the story type dealios. Um, but other than that, I actually do think they're very effective. I like that it makes you go out of your way on the map to do something a bit different sometimes. Like, I think it's Wilder's first one. It makes you go down into one of the mines and defeat a boss in the mines, which is actually really useful because it teaches you can go down into the mines and there's bosses there. But yeah, no, just generally fantastic story, lots of intrigue. I like the little cutscenes that are sprinkled in. I loved all of the artwork at the beginning that was shown. And yeah, I like all the characters. I think it goes a long way to make this game feel different from Elden Ring, even though it is kind of the same in a lot of ways. Right, I'm going to shut up again now, as the next boss is about to spawn. So I'll be back again for the final portion in a sec. And there you go, that's one dead tree sentinel. We're now going into the final night, so this is a bit different. You just interact with the goop, and it teleports you to basically where the final boss is going to be. Um, you get this little hub area here with access to a smithing station and a merchant, so you can do your final upgrades and purchasing. They also sell you some flask stuff at the bottom there, which can be quite useful. And yeah, from there you're basically good to go. You've got a grace where you can level up, obviously, but we are max level. This is like literally the first time I've ever hit max level in this game, and it feels good. It feels pretty good. So I think we do a little bit of waiting around here because my cot partner's sort of chilling up there for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, I think we're at a point now where we can sort of say like, would I recommend this game after 16 hours of playing? Um, if you are a Souls fan, and you are like put off by the fact that this is a multiplayer game, I would actually say don't worry. Um, I would say go for it. Um, Obviously, your enjoyment might hinge a little bit on the matchmaking, but I've had so many like good games that I've had such a blast. And with solo getting patched soon, I think that might become more of a viable way to play as well. So I would say go for it. You're not necessarily getting too much in the terms of like new experiences, because a lot of it is recycled content. But there's enough new stuff here for me to actually give this a recommendation. So don't be put off by the naysayers online. Give it a go, I would say, if you are a Souls fan. If, however, this is your entry into Souls, I would maybe say start elsewhere, unless you have a friend to help you through. Well, two friends to be precise. Because without friends guiding you through this, I think you will struggle at the beginning to the extent that you just don't enjoy it. So yeah, that's where I stand on this. I am going to leave the video playing now all the way through to the end. We'll do the boss battle, and then there's a little bit of lore at the end as well, which I'm going to just leave on there, basically. I'm going to let it play out in silence from here on out. So enjoy the Sentient Pest boss battle and a little bit of story. And thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Farewell.
Yes, the crypt is filled with the ancient people of these lands. I still remember looking after them long, long ago. As you know, mortality does not apply to those such as myself. These souls were laid to rest here in anticipation of the threat we now face, in a ritual required to draw the minds of their descendants here. Brave champion, there is something that you should know. The priestess was here long before the rest of you. Indeed, she is held captive by the Round Table itself. Brave champion, there the priestess. Indeed. I'm all ears.
What is it? You can tell me. So, dear caretaker let the cat out the bag. It's true. I'm imprisoned by the Round Table Hold. Far from an architect of this scheme, I am merely another condemned. You may find it amusing, but it is the truth. Once we're done, it will be goodbye.